Thanks, John. All right, so let's get started with this. So first of all, I want to break out, I don't have a picture of the staff. The last time we did this, it was a real controversy within engineering. And the guy whose car that we all congregate with, he sold it. He no longer has a car, and he takes the bus to work every day. So we were thinking about getting a bus in front of us, but they kept on moving. Okay, so that was a dad joke. Okay, so all right, so let's go through our staff summary here. We have 5 engineers and a manager for operations. In information systems and security, we have 3 engineers and a manager. And I want to point out something about information systems and security. And a few of you have noticed this, and that is we're very much interested in you safeguarding your own accounts. We have two-factor authentication that you can use for ARIN Online, right? And sadly, only 3% of our community is actually using two-factor authentication. It would be, I encourage those who do not have two-factor authentication to turn it on. Now, you could say, oh, that's cool. Well, what about ARIN staff? So ARIN staff comes to these meetings, and they also have to use two-factor authentication to get into our infrastructure. So we have a VPN, and we use Duo as a way of authenticating ourselves to get into our network. So, and this is something that Pete and his team put together, and the other thing is that all the boxes are centrally managed. So and they take a close eye over not only boxes back in the office, but also in remote locations and here in Barbados. Okay, so let's keep on going. Development, there's 9 engineers and a manager, a web experience expert, a user interface designer, that you've seen the results of their work with ARIN Online, software integration, and they're the ones that do the testing. We have 5 engineers and a manager. Project management, we have Deb in the back there and her sidekick, Sherry, and of course me. Okay, so our main focus areas since the last meeting, website improvements. Okay, so you've heard a lot about this. You're going to continue to hear a little bit about it, at least the rest of this meeting, is because it was a really big effort within ARIN to make this happen. And ARIN Online is now 100% on Angular technology. It actually uses RESTful calls on the backside to actually do the work. Before it was using JSF, which is an older framework, and we still have a lot of older frameworks on the backside, and we'll talk about that in the technical debt. But that is one area that we have actually modernized. We have an outstanding area that is not currently in the new framework, and that's WebWhois. WebWhois is not really a part of ARIN Online as far as we're concerned. It's on separate boxes on our public-facing sites, of which we have 3 of them. And that is the Whois search. So for those who like the old way of doing business, there's where you can go and feel happy. We have a lot of technical debt to do with. For example, our ARIN Online infrastructure is running on CentOS 6. And we still have some CentOS 5 boxes in our infrastructure. We did get rid of our CentOS 4 boxes, and it has been recycled, not shot. Okay, Whois performance? We're still having instances of crawling. There's a huge botnet, and they continually sort of crawl us at 32 at a time. I don't understand why. They can hit us at a /24 and do just as well. And we're getting lots of traffic from specific countries, which is very interesting. Social network providers, which is also interesting, and cloud providers. And that is the majority of our traffic, and a majority of that is automated. It's not something that a human can't type that fast physically to do the queries that we're seeing. Okay, ACSPs with ARIN Online, we actually knocked out 3 ACSPs. You can see that on the list. We completed version 1 of the user interface. So There's some nits that we have to fix. There's some iterations that we're going through and we have gone through. We've had a number of releases since our Big Bang release, and we continue to work on that. And CMSD, of course, has content responsibility. RDAP conformance. The community has noticed that the various regional registries have slightly different sort of behaviors with RDAP. And we're working on actually consolidating that so that we're all work the same. And this is IETF format, so the search and results are a little bit different than what you expect and do things a little bit differently. So you can see that we've had a couple of things that we've added in to make it more conformant with IETF specs. Okay, so a couple of words about the website. One is thank you very much for your participation. So we had our user experience and our user interface designer here. We've had those persons also at various ARIN on the Road events, as well as NANOG, and wearing white coats and the whole 9 yards, trying to get test drives and user feedback, which actually was very helpful in putting the website together. One of the things I'll mention is that every page within ARIN Online has been extensively overhauled. It's been designed and reviewed by the UI UX team, and every page has, like I said, new technology behind it. It is using RESTful services as the calls on the back side to get the data from our database to input it back on the page. So we also created a new framework for CMSD so that they don't have to worry about making sure that the pages are formatted correctly in the sense that, okay, does it look right? We're doing that ourselves, and it is designed and tested to be conformant with the web accessibility guidelines as well as with mobile browsers. So it's very responsive. And again, this is a culmination of a multi-year cross-department collaboration. So other accomplishments, well, we got some technical debt completed, but sadly, part of that was actually a result of an outage. So we had a DNSSEC outage, and sadly, it was something that we knew that we had to monitor, but we just never had the cycles to put it together. So we've since then have fixed those shortcomings, and we do have one outstanding thing in that we have this bump in the wire DNSSEC signer that we have. The box it needs a little bit of work, and we actually need to get it up to snuff. And it's one of the things that's some technical debt that we need to take care of. Is still continuing. It continues to work, but we have a lot of hacks in place to make sure it does work. We have automated build systems with Ansible. We used to use Puppet. We're using Ansible now. There's still a little bit of Puppet in our infrastructure that we're trying to extinguish. We modernized our our virtualization. We use virtualization extensively within ARIN, and some of our public-facing services are also virtualized. And the managers underneath that, we've kept on upgrading them so that they don't go behind as well. And we've put in lots and lots of WHOIS performance improvements to deal with the added influx that we've had. Okay, so let's go through some of the stats. So you can see here that basically we're fairly even in terms of the number of accounts activated every year. It's less than 10,000, but close to 10,000. And of course, we're just starting 2019. So it's too early to tell what 2019 will have. So active usage within ARIN Online, you can see that there's a lot of users that do the one and done sort of thing. And a few are in the 2 to 5 range, log in 2 to 5 times. But what's really, truly amazing is those people that log in 16 or more times. And there's a good number of those, especially at the higher realm, that have automated that ability to log in. Because, again, there's no way they could have typed that fast. So there's definitely some automation that's going on with the user interface as well. Here's our provisioning transactions. One of the things, I'm not sure how well you can see it, but the lower bar that you can see going through at each of the ARIN meetings is those people that submit templates for reassignments and so on. And the higher bar is those people that use the RESTful service for the same activity. And this is something that we really encourage you who do still use templates to move away from, because much like we said before about security, we consider security important. Using templates for sending in reassignment information is not as secure as it could be, and the RESTful services certainly a better foundation to use going forward. DNSSEC, we have 11 new organizations since the last meeting that are using DNSSEC. They've actually put in 222 additional secured zones, which is great, and we're getting up to a little bit higher percentage of our users actually using DNSSEC. Here's an interesting slide. And if you look at it, you say, well, okay, I see a lot of numbers going across the page. And I apologize if some of this is kind of small in the back room. But, well, I'll just highlight is one thing, and that is that the number of ROAs that has increased over the last 6 months is basically quadrupled. So we went from over 1,000 to 4,500 ROAs within our infrastructure. We actually have now covered over almost 6,000 networks. So RPKI is actually starting to take off within the ARIN region. I'm excited about that. And I'm glad to see that there's a lot of work going on. There is one misnomer, and I've said this before, and I'll say this now again, is the up-down delegated person. There's 2 steps of the process. That person actually went through the first time, and for the first step, saying, hey, I want to do RPKI up-down. And the second part is you actually have to present a certificate to us saying, here are the resources I have that ARIN will sign over for delegated. They actually never did the second step. So that's really a half. It's not really a 1. We actually have, over the course of using our RPKI services, we've actually only had 1 true up-down customer. And that person actually pulled out or that organization pulled out because it was hard for them at that point in time. Here you can see our who is RWS queries. You can see that it's starting to crawl up again. The last time we had a spike was in 2010, which was crazy. But one of the things that I'll note now is in 2010, they were very simple queries that we can answer. The queries that we're seeing now are quite expensive, and actually is causing a bit of a load on our servers. RDAP, which is the lighter color below, has seen less traffic, but again, it has peaks as well. Who is RWS and RDAP queries over v6? You can see that we're still running about 3 to 4% over v6 as a cumulative versus v4. Here's our RDAP sort of breakout in terms of how many people are using v6 versus v4. v4 is the predominant winner. IRR, the list of maintainers continues to go up. The route and route 6 objects continue to go up. And INET-num and INET6num objects, which nominally aren't really part of the IRR, but are sort of an accoutrement, are there as well, and they continue to grow too. And here's a breakout of the number of people who participate in the IRR. And what's interesting here is you have a lot of people at the very low end, almost 2,000 that have 1 to 4 objects in here, but the number of organizations that have a huge number has increased. There is one organization that has almost 20,000 objects within the IRR. So what are we working through Q3 of this year? IRR. We're in the design stages now, and we'll start development work in Q3. Stateless ARIN Online. One of the things you want to get rid of is the pesky timeouts. Yeah, as you go to many sites, if you just leave your terminal open, it will time out with you eventually. And there's been complaints about our timeouts because they're server side. We're now going to go to a client side timeout. and that will allow you to stay on for a much longer period of time. Not infinite, but a longer period of time. We have a RPKI HSM upgrade, and what this is a high security module that we're using. It is end of life, and we need to upgrade it. So that there's some RPKI work that we have to do in Q3 of this year. And of course, some improvements, incremental improvements that we want to make to the website. We have a technical backlog. We're still using Java 7 and JBoss. Now they've been subsumed and been replaced. These are running on CentOS 6 boxes, which are older too. We need to make sure that they don't become incredibly ancient. They're starting to get to the midlife crisis stage. We want to get beyond that if we can. We continue to work on Ansible and replace or actually upgrade our bump in the wire DNSSEC signer. One of the other things that we're doing is, and this is something I really want to do, is put GSLB, Global Service Load Balancing, in our infrastructure. Right now, we're reliant on round-robin DNS. So when you connect to, for example, Whois, you'll get presented three records back, of which you will go to probably the first one on the list, and which is fine. It's old 1990s technology, and it gets you to where you need to go. But we like to be able to do this, be able to load balance in a more granular fashion by using GSLB. And we're also working on a cutover to our disaster site. We have our servers out there, but we don't have all the glue that needs to be done to make sure everything works together, such as monitoring. And those are the things that we are working on for the next couple months, or next 6 months, rather. Coordination work with the regional registries. We're working out the differences, as I mentioned, about RDAP and extended statistic file formats. It's amazing, even though you have a standard, people still find a way to deviate from that standard, and we're trying to make sure we're coalesced across that way. We have internet technology health indicators. And we're working on a coordinating reporting between the regional registries. This is essentially an ICANN initiative that we're putting together along with registration services. And we have some work going on in RPKI and asking for some protocol enhancements to be put into place to make RPKI more robust. Essentially, this is operator feedback going into the IETF and saying, you did okay with the standard, but we could really do a better job. And for example, one of the areas is there's this thing called a repository, which has all your RPKI elements in it. To pull that down, you use this protocol called rsync. And rsync, it's a fine protocol, but there's much better ones that could be used out there that actually allow you to push out the data to more locations using a cloud provider, for example. So that people can have more availability to pull down this content, which means that you have to change the protocol underneath to make that happen. And that's something that we are looking forward to actually do. Okay, with that, I think I'm done.
Questions for Mark? Microphones are open.
Oh, that's all good.
Hi, Mark.
Hello, Andrew.
Andrew Dull, speaking for myself. Are you seeing any instances of the ARIN Online accounts people attempting to hijack the accounts, especially older accounts?
That's really a question more for John, because
Okay,
so.
well, you can answer the question in the presentation.
Front mic, go ahead.
Michael Casteval-Noraulo. Roughly speaking, have you seen, has there been any attempts to try and look at reverse DNS data and tell how accurate it actually is versus people that just stuff your pointer records in there?
I don't think we've ever done any validity testing on how people are using their reverse.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark.
Oh, you're welcome.